In 1517, Martin Luther kick-started what would eventually be known as the Protestant Reformation. He questioned the authority and the rationale of the scholars in Rome. He protested what the learned men were selling as proof and truth to the masses. Specifically, Martin Luther protested the sale of indulgences. An indulgence was a certificate that instantly cleaned your sins and gave you and your loved ones a guaranteed passage to heaven. The scholars assured you that even your dead grandmother's soul would go from purgatory to heaven if you bought one for her. An indulgence was so patently irrational and ridiculous that even illiterate peasants realized their absurdity and rose up against the scholars of Rome. Today, 500 years later, we launched the Second Reformation. This protest is against the nonsense being sold as proven truth by respectable scholars and institutions that have formed a more formidable religion, one that the unsuspecting public has not even thought about challenging. Like the 16th century peasants who blindly believed that their scholars were infallible, the contemporary believer buys today's snake oil solely on the basis of authority. The modern-day indulgences being sold as truth by far surpassing absurdity those sold in the 16th century. They include Big Bang creationism, the proposal that matter, space, and time had a moment in which they came into being all by themselves. The surrealistic black hole, an unimaginably heavy yet zero-dimensional singularity that lurks in space. Alternative realities, the absurd claim that there are countless copies of you branching out in different universes every step you take. A delusional proposal that says that you are nothing but a cartoon character in a computer simulation run by an advanced civilization. If you are one of those scarce humans who still has an ounce of rationality left in you, you should recognize at least one of these claims as a patently absurd teaching of the mathematical establishment. And if at least one of these claims sounds absurd to you, then it may behoove you to look at contemporary claims a little deeper. The following 95 theses are intended to make you stop and think, hopefully on your own. You should attempt to reach your own conclusions without the need to consult authority. Mathematics is strictly language of adverbs. Its sole purpose and extent is to characterize motion, and then only quantitatively. By their very nature, equations, variables, and numbers only have the power to describe. It is incongruous and irrational to attempt to use such tools to explain. Science doesn't describe. Science explains. Therefore, science has no use for mathematics. Mathematics is not a part of science. Science is divided into two fields or disciplines, physics and philosophy. Physics deals with objects and causes. Philosophy deals with concepts and reasons. In science, we do not do experiments. In science, we explain them. The job of a scientist is to use his brain, to theorize and nothing more. It is technicians, gophers, and assistants who use their hands to do experiments in the lab for the scientist. Evidence, proof, and truth are opinions, beliefs. Opinion is the hallmark of religion. Religion is not about gods, but about beliefs. Science is not in the business of persuading, convincing, converting, or recruiting. In science, we do not prove or believe in theories. In science, we explain and understand them. Whether a theory is correct or incorrect, right or wrong, true or false is an opinion. Whether it is rational or irrational is not. An irrational theory has at least one of the following characteristics: reification, undefined key term, theory inconsistent with hypothesis. Peer review was created to enforce censorship. Monks and priests, fearful of losing their religion, rely on the peer review system to shield their beliefs from attack. Science does not worship celebrities. Science values rational theories. There are neither celebrities nor idolaters in science. In science, we never insult or offend anyone. In science, we treat people with the respect that they have earned and deserve. Physics is literal. There is no poetry in physics. Metaphors, figures of speech, speaking in tongues, parables, allegories, etc. are strictly forbidden. The golden principle of physics. Physics requires an object. Thou shalt not do physics without an object. The language of physics is not mathematics. The language of physics is illustration. If thou canst not illustrate your theory, thou art not doing physics. An object is that which has shape. A concept is a word that invokes or embodies two objects. Object is to one what concept is to two. All objects are either 2D or 3D. There are no objects that are 0D or 1D. There are no objects that are 4D or greater. These controversies are settled in physics through illustration. In physics, we don't explain objects. In physics, we point to them. The nouns of physics are not the same as the nouns of ordinary speech. Only objects qualify as nouns in physics. The subject of a sentence cannot be a concept. For instance, the statement of ordinary speech, "The orbit of Jupiter," has no place in science. In physics, we say, "Jupiter orbits." It is irrational in physics to place an article in front of a concept. It is irrational in physics to qualify a concept with adjectives. A theory of physics is a movie. One should be able to watch the film and understand the explanation, cause, or mechanism. Every frame of a film of physics shall have at least one object. The universal movie or film is the entire history of the motion of all objects in our universe. The universal movie or subset thereof, that is, a film strip, is a handy tool to explain and understand phenomena. All film strips, theories, mechanisms, phenomena, etc., have a first frame. It is irrational to start an explanation in the middle of a film strip. Space is not made of point particles and zero-dimensional antiparticles as the religion of quantum mechanics proposes. Space is not made of one-dimensional strings of energy, as the religion of string theory proposes. It is irrational to propose that space is a medium. We do not travel through or in space. We travel to the moon. Space is the antithesis of object. Space is that which lacks shape. Space is a synonym of nothing. This definition debunks the claim of general relativity, which holds that gravity is the warping of space. The word universe is a concept. It stands for space and matter. There is no physical object or medium called universe. We don't live in the universe like a fish lives in the ocean. The complementarity principle proposes that light is both a particle and a wave. Complementarity is idiocy invented by frustrated mathematicians who never figured out the physical nature of light and who argue that they are talking about behavior rather than structure. The uncertainty principle, or principle of indeterminacy, proposes that when the ball moves, it doesn't stand still, and when it stands still, it doesn't move. As a result, the mathematicians concluded that a particle can be at two places at once. The uncertainty principle is poppycock invented by idiots of mathematics who insist on explaining everything with discrete particles. The entropic principle is garbage invented by deranged mathematicians who have no idea how to explain the workings of the universe. They ended up believing that the universe is the way it is because otherwise we wouldn't be here. Alternative realities, or copies of you branching off into countless universes, are the product of deranged minds of people who have lost touch with reality. The holographic universe is where autistic mathematicians are housed. Normal humans have no idea what these pitiful Alzheimer's patients are talking about. Mathematicians that suffer the ravages of progressive dementia claim that they are part of a computer simulation created by an advanced civilization. Big Bang is a creationist theory that dispenses with God and that is sold to the public in the guise of science. Distance is not a quantitative parameter. It is therefore not measured because in physics we have no use for numbers, units, or equations. Distance is a qualitative concept. Distance is the separation between two objects. Location is the set of distances from one object to all others. Motion consists of two or more locations of an object. The word exists refers to an object that has location. Imaginary objects and 2D objects are objects that do not exist. Exist. Physical presence. Object plus location. Physics is the science of existence. Physics only studies that which exists. Anyone alleging the existence of objects or using the word exist in any way, shape, or form has crossed the line into physics. A static or frozen universe is a hypothetical state of matter assumed to have no motion. In a frozen universe, objects only have location and distance with respect to other objects. The frozen universe is what appears in a single frame of the universal film. Energy is not a physical object. Energy is a mathematical concept. Energy is a synonym of spirit. The word energy is not used in physics. It is used solely in religion. There is no physical object known as field. Field is a concept. Field is a synonym of region. Physics has no use for the word field. It is in churches and monasteries where the priests and monks invoke the word field to explain certain miracles to their flocks. Mass is not the quantity of matter. There is no physical object known as mass. The word mass is outside the purview of physics. Mass is no different than weight. An astronaut's mass does indeed change on the moon because the mathematicians measure his mass by weighing him and not by counting the number of atoms in his body. Mathematics has never been able to isolate mass from weight. It is irrational to claim that a particle carries a force or interaction. Corpuscles don't carry action verbs. There are only two forces anyone can imagine: push and pull. No other physical interaction can be conceived. Tension is not a force. Force is dynamic. Tension is static. Newton's gravitational equation has nothing to do with force. It is solely about tension. Charge is a word used as a battle cry and to buy unnecessary things. There is no object in physics known as charge. Charge is a verb, not a noun. Dimensions, coordinates, and vectors have only two properties: direction and orthogonality. A dimension is related to architecture and alludes to tilt and orientation of an object. The three dimensions are length, width, and height. There is no such concept as width all by itself. Orthogonality entails that length and height are tacitly present, whether they are used or not. A coordinate alludes to the location of an object with respect to three reference points. Coordinates point in the direction of the test object. The three coordinates are longitude, latitude, and altitude. They should not be confused with the number lines known as radius, parallel, and meridian, which have nothing to do with physics. A vector has to do with the three mutually perpendicular directions in which an object may move. The three vectors are depth, breadth, and elevation. There is no physical object known as time. Time is a concept. It is irrational to treat time as a physical object. For example, time dilation, space-time, warping time, time flows, traveling through time, the arrow of time, etc. Time is neither a dimension nor a coordinate. Time is a number line. A number line lacks the two properties of dimensions, coordinates, and vectors of physics, to wit, direction and orthogonality. Conversely, dimensions, coordinates, and vectors lack the sole property of number lines, magnitude. The arrowheads on dimensions, coordinates, and vectors indicate direction. The arrowhead on a number line indicates that numbers increase or decrease. In physics, we have no use for time. Time doesn't help us explain any phenomenon of nature. There is no such thing as a black hole. The black hole was invented by runaway minds of mathematics who could not explain the loss of gaseous matter from the surface of a star and why a star revolves around nothing. As of today, there is no definition of the term black hole. Some mathematicians treat it as a black ball. Others treat it as a region of something else. This duality enables the mathematician to cover all the bases. The mathematicians allege that a black hole is made of mass. They define mass as a measure of the quantity of matter. However, they also claim that a black hole crushes all matter out of existence. This is a circular argument. There is no such thing as dark matter. Dark matter was invented by deranged astrologers who could not explain why the stars farthest from the center of a galaxy travel just as fast or faster than those close to its center. The mathematicians claim that dark matter is heavy and invisible. To understand what the mathematicians are referring to, you must replace the term dark matter with the word kilograms. Kilograms are heavy and invisible. No one can draw a kilogram. There are no such things as discrete particles as quantum mechanics alleges. The standard model of quantum mechanics is bogus. The electric universe is an obscure sect of quantum mechanics that purports to build continuous structures such as cosmic filaments that allegedly bind the stars with quantum's discrete planetary atom. The words plasma, vortex, and ether are words of incantation championed by the electric universe. These concepts have no place in physics. An electron does not orbit the proton, as quantum and the electric universe hold. This model cannot justify, inter alia, why the electron doesn't spontaneously leave the atom. It is irrational to explain attraction or action at a distance with discrete particles as quantum mechanics and the electric universe attempt to do. The proponent is in effect introducing unspecified spirits between the objects. Positive and negative, as well as North Pole and South Pole, are not physical entities. This language has no place in physics because it has no chance of explaining causes and mechanisms. The word wave is not a noun. It is a verb. A flag may be said to wave. Water may be said to wave. It is irrational to say that a wave waves. There is no such object as wave. All atoms in existence are interconnected. Light is mediated by neither particles nor waves. Light is mediated by a rope-like entity, two twined DNA-like threads. The twined threads fork at the boundary of the atom. One thread continues straight to the center of the atom and out the other end. The other thread coils around and forms the surface of the atom. This hypothesis enables us to explain all invisible phenomena of nature rationally. An atom is constructed by the same threads that twine to form the mediator of light. There is a single closed-loop thread comprising all the matter in the universe. Electricity is not a noun. Electricity is a verb. Electricity is a process. There is no physical object called electricity. Electricity does not consist of discrete electron beads flowing from one atom to another. Electricity can better be explained as a drill bit twirling in place. Electricity consists of a row of aligned atoms that are induced to spin. A magnetic field is not a physical object. It cannot be used as a paddle to push charges along. A magnetic field is a region where something is moving. A row of atoms that is induced to spin, electricity, swings countless threads around itself. It is these walls of swinging threads that mathematical physics calls field. The word matter refers to the set of objects that exist. Matter cannot surreptitiously appear from space. Space cannot spontaneously morph into matter. The notion that particles spontaneously appear from the void was concocted by deranged mathematicians who simulate all their explanations with particles. Matter cannot spontaneously morph into space. Neither space nor time ever came into being. It is irrational to claim that either space or time was made. Matter was not created. It has always been there. Matter cannot escape that which has no boundaries, that is, space, nothing. Not even God can escape from nothing. Space is the largest prison never built.